Are you feeling compelled to help out someone and you're feeling a lot of hesitancy about it? And maybe what's happening is God's using this as an opportunity to point out something that's going on with you. It may not necessarily be about helping the other person, but it's an opportunity to say, hey, here's where something is going wrong in your life, and I need you to address it. This is I'd Rather Be a Buffalo. This podcast is about helping you get through the storms of life with Christ, help deepening your relationship with God, and also listening to what God's call and purpose and direction is for your life. Um, I had an experience this last week that I wanted to share with you that you may be able to identify with. There are people that were in my circle that listen, and I fully admit this on the show and the stuff that I used to talk about in the past with Doug. There's character defects that I have, and one of those character defects runs into um, people pleasing and a little bit of codependency and those other aspects that happen. And sometimes what happens is when I see people that are going through a hardship or through some pain or some difficulty, um, there's a tendency in me that wants to go, well, let me go in, I'll swoop in and I'll fix and I'll clean this up. And there was something that was going on where I was noticing with some people that I know that they were going through a challenge where I was looking at it from the outside and looking at it and thinking, I think I know what the solution is, right? But I had to take a moment before I sort of fully inserted myself into the situation because this is something that I've had to learn to do over the years is to go, stop, stop doing a reactive jump in. It's something that I've had to deal with a lot in my life. And I would say the best book that ever dealt with this issue for me was Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud and the other guy. I'm gonna look it up while I'm talking to you. Um, this Boundaries book, I'll give the author's name. I know somebody right now is like listening to this and going, "It's this person." Well, I'm glad that you know this. Um, but that book Boundaries has been so amazing for me over the years because some of the stuff that was in there. Here we go, Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. And Boundaries was an incredible book for me because even in the introduction of that book, there's a scenario that's described with a woman that's going through similar situations I've gone through in my life. And Boundaries has been a wonderful book for me because it made me realize, hold on, there's certain circumstances that people are going through where they have to go through that process. And if I overstep my boundaries and go in and intervene, um, it's you know, I'm taking on a burden that really is theirs and something that they're supposed to be learning and growing through. But something that came up, and I promised my sponsor I would talk about this because I was having a conversation with him, and there was like talk about the Holy Spirit being involved in our conversation because things were just pow, going off for me. Um, there was a moment where usually when you're seeing people go through a challenge, and I've had this happen in my own life, especially in going through the process of recovery, people usually have to hit a version of rock bottom in their lives where they get to a point where they just go, yeah, this isn't working for me anymore. The decisions or the choices that I'm making in my life, it's just not working. There are people that I've encountered in my life over the years where it feels like they get so close to rock bottom, like they get right there and then they just go, it's like they almost sort of pull up from hitting the exact crashing rock bottom where everything goes out from underneath them and you go, what is going on here? My sponsor said something to me the other day, which is it's a term that they use in business, which several of you may be familiar with, but it's this term of uh, good is the enemy of great, right? So this can happen in business where people get to a point with their projects or the work or the stuff that they're doing on where they just go, hey, it's good enough. It's good enough. And people get very comfortable in that good enough place but it stops them from moving forward and striving for what could be greatness, right? Because we get to a version of comfortability. And I had this epiphany while I was talking to my sponsor about this because it connected with these other relationships I have with people in my life that are going through challenging circumstances. And it made me realize that what some of these people that are going through in their life, they have they haven't even hit a version of like, oh well, this is good. There's been sort of a course correction that has happened, and there's this tendency that can happen for all of us is we get to a point where we just start getting comfortable in whatever muck or mire that we're in. And really what happens is that, and I do believe it's satanic, the bar keeps getting lower and lower and lower, but because it's what our known situation is, and we're not dead or we're not careening towards immediate death, that we get very used to it. It's the frogs boiling in a pot, right? You've heard this a million different times that that they just get comfortable in the water and they don't realize that the temperature is rising and rising until it's boiling. The thing that I realized with this other situation is that if you're not careful, you may be in another version of that where you may think that, well, this is good enough, or I'll just accept what this is. Well, what's really happening is that you're slowly adjusting to the decline that may be happening in your state of life, whether it is physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, socially, relationally, whatever. You just start getting accustomed. Well, this is what it is. And there's this sense of natural decay, right? Or in some cases, it's satanic decay that's happening, where it's just like, yeah, it's starting to eat away. It's starting to eat away. And I think, and for me, this is where the big light bulbs went off, where I just felt like, oh God, this is what you're calling me to. This is why it's pinging me. This is why I'm looking at that. And you're using this opportunity, Lord, as a moment to go, yeah, Kevin, you're seeing this in other people's lives, where there's stuff that's going on where it could be just an easy fix or an easy correction. Why aren't they doing this? And it's causing frustration inside of you and it's pushing a lot of buttons. But as I was talking to my sponsor, it was suddenly a realization of going, where's that happening for me, Lord? Where is it that I've been at a point where I've gotten so comfortable that I don't realize the natural or the satanic decay that's been happening in my own life, um, in my relationship with Him, with God, in my relationships, in my family, with my sons, in my community, with my work, with what I'm supposed to be doing with God's purpose. Where is that I've just been like settling? And this isn't about just this isn't some couched prosperity gospel thing either, right? I'm really, really against that right now. Melissa Doherty right now on online, if you happen to see her, is doing some amazing work about new thought that's infiltrated, Christianity. I highly recommend that you seek her out, Melissa Doherty. She's doing great work on that. So all of that up there to say this, none of this is about that. But I do feel like God is continually calling us to go, hey, don't get comfortable. It's the same thing that happens with Elisha when he's the prophet Elisha when he's on the run from Jezebel, who's, put out this death warrant on him, and he's hiding out in this, this valley with this creek that's there, and he thinks it's all over for him, and he's hiding away, but yet God still provides this water from this creek for him to drink from, and for birds to come along and to drop food and bread so that he can eat and survive. At some point, the birds stop coming and the creek dries up because God doesn't want him to remain there. He needs him to move on. And part of that moving on is getting into difficult and uncomfortable things. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what God is calling us to continuously. He's continuously calling us to get into uncomfortable parts in our life, to push through and go, I don't want to do this, God. I don't want to do this. And he goes, I know. I know you don't want to do this, but I'm asking you to do this because that journey that you go through is causing you to refine yourself and to craft yourself and to form yourself into who I've designed you to be. That's what he's calling you to do. But we can't get to a point where we're sitting out just saying, well, this is good. This is good enough. No. And again, I'm not talking about riches and things and all this other stuff. There's something that's happening where he's calling you to a challenging thing and going, I need you out of there. I need you out of that little hidden valley. I need you hidden. I need you to stop hiding away, and I need you to move forward to where I'm calling you to go. And it's going to be difficult, and there's going to be challenges, and there's going to be stuff that just feels like, I don't want to do this, God. And he's literally going, I know. I need you to come along anyway. This is part of the process. So for me, that was the big wake up. That was the big wake up of going, yeah, this concept of, well, it's good enough is the absolute enemy of God's greatness that he is calling you towards, to what that is. What is it? Where is that area in your life where you've just kind of settled and you've just accepted and you just said, yeah, this is what it is? Or even that thing that other people are striving for, which is like, and I have to say this on here. People are continuously thinking that, oh, I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I got my car and my house and my stuff, and I got food in the fridge, and I got all that other stuff. Just because you have those things, that doesn't equate to God's love or purpose or direction for you. It's very easy for him to come along and to suddenly say, I'm taking that away from you. I'm going to permit something else to happen so that you grow deeper in your relationship with me and fulfill your calling according to what it is. So don't fool yourself into the idea of like going, well, I got the car, I got the house, I got the nice clothes, I got the stuff. I'm blessed. Thanks God, we made it. It's not over until you take your last breath on this planet and awaken to your reward afterwards and follow what it is that he's calling. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you. I hope that you found this helpful. If you did, please do me a favor. Like and subscribe. I'll be sharing more videos here with you, and God willing, soon have more interviews with other people that have gotten through the storms of life with Christ's help. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video.